appreciate it. So I am really excited to be here today to talk to you all about connecting teams through purpose and fun. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in tech for over 3 decades, everything from software engineer to chief database architect to director of product. So I've done a little bit of everything. My North Star is envisioning a world that embraces diversity of thought and opportunity for all. So while we were waiting for people to get in, we have a little icebreaker that I see people already starting to answer, which is awesome. So if I had the afternoon off, what activity would give you the most joy? So if I had the afternoon off, I would find joy in taking a hike because I love being out in nature. And I would definitely bring my camera because it provides me a tool to look at things in a much different way than I would if I was just hiking. So I like the combination of both being out in nature and taking pictures at the same time. So let's see, we have some people playing a board game. So Virginia, what's your favorite board game? Do you have a favorite? So I see somebody said watching Frasier. I haven't watched Frasier in forever. Very interesting. Napping. Got a couple of people who like napping. That's awesome. I would love to be playing with pastels. I have trouble drawing even like a stick figure, but I am planning on trying someday just for fun, get into the art world. Reading while watching a movie and listening to music. Awesome. Being outdoors, another nature person. That's great. Okay, so we're going to get started now. Hopefully we've got most of the people that are going to be part of this session. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our prizes with purpose. This is our little surprise and delight. So we have a prize master, my business partner for 30 years and brother for much longer, Doug Lessing, who's the founder of Finn. He's a consummate male ally. And he's going to be monitoring the chat, and he's going to provide a prize link for sponsored donations to causes because we really want this to be as interactive as possible. So we're going to, reward you for participating in the chat. I see people have been great already. There's going to be lots of great causes that you can choose from, including Women Who Code. Okay, so why are we here? I assume most people are here because they believe that, creating connections as teams and as a company are really important. But if you need convincing, or you need to be able to convince somebody else in your company, here's some research to back it up. So according to Morgan Stanley, companies that retain employees outperform other companies by 25%. So that makes a lot of sense when you consider the cost of losing an employee. Research has proven that it's tens of thousands of dollars and sometimes as much as 2 times an annual salary. So that can be huge. But why is it important right now? So in the past few months, I've seen so many headlines like this, dozens of headlines talking about the great resignation boom. So many employees are looking to change jobs this year. I would love to know what percentage you think are planning to leave their jobs this year. If you could put that in the chat, that would be great. So what do you guys think? 50%? 23%, 70%? Oh, we're all over the place. We've got low and high, 23, 50, 70, 35, 75, 65. So the answer, and this is just according to the Microsoft Work Trends survey across 31 countries, is 40%. And it goes significantly higher when you start talking about the younger generation. It's more like 54%. And we've seen many, many figures, many surveys out there that are showing the same kind of thing. So what can we do to counter that? What can we do to engage our employees? Well, according to this talk, hopefully connecting through purpose and fun. I feel like it not only engages employees, but it also enhances empathy and understanding, and it creates an atmosphere that really lets diverse teams thrive. And as we've seen over and over again in the research, diverse teams actually have a huge impact on the success of a company. So we're going to have a little choose your own adventure. You get to choose your adventure as a group. Do we do fun first or purpose first? If you look on the next to the chat, it says people and then Slido. If you can go over to the Slido, and click on it, there should be a poll for you to be able to select what you want to do. Can people see that? If not, we can just do it through the chat, but okay. Let's see, people are still adding. This is awesome. It's awesome watching it go up and down. All right. You guys are great at participating. I really appreciate it. All right, so it looks like it is purpose first by a long shot, but for different reasons. Purpose first because people want to end with fun. Okay, I'm totally on board with that. And purpose first because I care most about purpose. And I'm actually both of those. So I made purpose first. You just made it a lot easier for me because now I don't have to change my slides. So thank you. All right, awesome. So purpose first. Let's talk about purpose. So why are we even talking about purpose? Well, the Great Resignation that we talked about earlier, you know, one of the main reasons is it's coming down to culture and purpose. Daniel Pink had a great quote that talked about the pandemic as the great unmasking, because it's really given people time to reflect and think about where they are, think about if they're making a contribution and they're feeling maybe a little bit stuck in their jobs and they're looking for a sense of purpose. So a recent New York Times article said one of the most important dimensions of job satisfaction is how you feel about your company's mission. So what is purpose? So purpose is a reason for being. It's something bigger than ourselves. Purpose is both meaning and impact. You have to feel personally like you're contributing to the team purpose and the company purpose for it to be meaningful to you. And this is my favorite definition, which is a North Star, a guiding light. So Finn's North Star is to be a force for positive change in the way that companies view their commitment to social impact. So a purpose like that, a clear purpose, motivates people. It helps guide them through change. It helps them when situations get turned upside down, like the pandemic. But it has to be genuine, because culture is not just stating your values. It's your values plus your behavior. So a lot of people change jobs frequently because they find out that their company was just a lot of words and a lot less action. So it's really important to back up what you say with what you do. So I love this quote by Simon Sinek. In fact, I recommend anything by him, but in particular, The Infinite Game. So The Infinite Game talks about 3 responsibilities of a company. One is to advance a purpose, to have employees feel like they've provided value beyond the physical work that they did. 2 is to protect people, protect employees, protect customers, protect suppliers, and protect the environment that they all live in. And 3 is to generate profit, because money is fuel, and you need that fuel in order to advance those first 2 priorities. So for good and for profit, and that's really a growing movement. And you can check into any of these things: B Corp, conscious capitalism, triple bottom line. I do have some resources in my link tree that talk about the B Corp, and you can check that out. But that's something that I think is really starting to pick up steam. And if your company isn't aware of that now, I would definitely have them look into it. There are companies in the Fortune 500 that are now B Corps. So we're going to talk a little bit about creating purposeful teams. So how do we do this? Well, the first and most important thing is to start and start now. And the way that you do that is to take small steps. Don't put a large committee together and take months and months to figure out what it is you're going to do. It's not that you can't do that, but at the same time, start thinking about this on a daily basis. What's one thing I can do today to incorporate purpose and passion into the DNA of my company? And one way to do that is to use a lens for purpose with every decision that you make. So if you have that North Star, that guiding light, then think about what you're doing and your actions that you're doing in each day and say, is that helping us towards our purpose, towards our mission? Is what I'm doing today impacting that. Care about what your team cares about. Find out what your team cares about. Brainstorm and include everybody. And you can use tools like Miro or Jamboard or random word generators to get people involved and brainstorm together. You can make it personal for each team member. Find out what excites them, what frustrates them, what do they value the most in life, what do they feel like needs to change. And make sure to give choices in how you're contributing to the local community and causes. One of the things a lot of companies do is they write a big check at the end of each year and to an organization that maybe the CEO cares about. But there are a lot of people individually that may have different things that they care about. So try to connect with them and find out what they care about and actually make a difference in their causes as well. So the next thing we're going to talk about is connecting. So connecting the employee with the team, connecting with the team with the company. All of those purposes should line up. They're like concentric circles. So if your company doesn't have a purpose and you're a leader of a team, work with your team to create a purpose for your team. Why are they doing what they're doing, and how is each person contributing to that purpose? Purpose becomes personal when a person is doing what they care about, doing what they do best to further what they care about the most. So you want to connect with causes and with community on a regular basis. You don't want this to be a one and done type thing, because if you have regular interactions, you can really see what you can do to impact them and really find out what they need. So sometimes you'll find that things are really, really simple, like a conference room, providing them a conference room can make a big difference in terms of how they're able to have their meetings or do something like that. So think about that, how you can connect with causes on a regular basis. One of the ways that you can do that is to volunteer as a group. But keep in mind that any activities that the company values should really be done on company time. So rather than just say, you know, we appreciate you volunteering, actually give people time in order to be able to do that, and time that impacts their schedule in such a way that they can actually take time off and not feel like they have to make it up. I saw a great example where a company recently posted on LinkedIn about how they've given their entire team 7 days PTO to spend volunteering for organizations that they care about. And that was a pretty amazing thing. And find your tribe of good. So there are a lot of others out there that want to make a difference. So make sure to find those people, share your ideas. They can have more impact. It really makes a big difference when you start talking to people and finding out what they're doing and connecting with them. One example is GoodCon. For companies, there are things such as % pledge, 1% for the planet, sustainable brands. There are a lot of different communities out there that you can join, so make sure to find your tribe. And keep in mind that this deep sense of connection and belonging is not just for on-site work. I've personally been on-site, hybrid, and remote since the 90s, all 3 of those at all different times. And I can tell you that you can create purposeful teams and create those connections remotely, as long as you do it with intentional actions. So really be thoughtful about how you're doing it. Okay, so we are going to do a little math symbol check-in. I would love for you to put a symbol, one of these symbols, in the chat as to how you're feeling right now. And if you want to, also tell me why you picked that particular symbol. And while we're waiting for people to do that, I'll tell you, like, one of the things when you're doing check-ins like this, the facilitation and reflection are really important as part of this. And the reflection sometimes tells you a lot more than even the activity itself. So great, I have somebody who has a curly bracket ready to absorb and act on a large block of info. Percentage, because it's been a crazy week. Exclamation, because it's Friday, I hear you. Equals ready to connect. Exclamation, excited to learn. I've had a lot of people who've used the division sign, interestingly, for being mixed emotions, right? Plus learning knowledge, asterisks. So these are awesome. You guys are great. All right. So we're going to move on to have some fun. All right. So it's time for fun. What is fun? So that's just something like we know when we see it, right? Well, that's not necessarily true. It seems like it would be, but sometimes it can be dramatically different for different people. If you took a 25-year-old introverted single male and a 40-year-old extroverted mom, they might have very different ideas of fun. So in a team setting, it's really important to define it the right way. So fun creates a shared experience that lifts everybody's spirits. It's enjoyment, it's amusement, and it's lighthearted pleasure. So why fun? Well, who doesn't want to work in a fun workplace? So organizations that integrate fun into work have lower levels of absenteeism, they have greater job satisfaction, increased productivity, and less downtime. So now we get to talk about creating fun teams. So you want to make sure that the fun that you create is inclusive, that it includes your whole team, young and old, parents and single people, introverts and extroverts, people of different abilities. Not every activity needs to include everyone, but everyone should be able to find some activity that they can participate in. And as part of that, you really want to consider the timing of your events. Think about your team schedule, not just their work schedule, but also their personal schedule, and see what fits best into their lives in general. The best types of fun at work are fun that allows you to bond and understand each other. So consider how empathy plays a role in the fun that you create. A really good example of this is to maybe have cultural exchanges. A networking group that I'm part of recently had one member teach a Bollywood dancing class, which was fun and funny if you got to watch me dancing, and also really informative because she shared with us about the folk traditions that were behind a lot of the dance steps. So we got to learn a lot about her background and her culture in her just teaching us something fun to do. So now let's get a little bit imaginative and start to think about how you can incorporate your play into your work. So not just creating separate events that you can have fun in, but what can you do to promote imaginative and innovative thinking throughout the day in the middle of your work? What can you do to make a really boring assignment maybe more interesting? So one example of this is maybe taking presentation material, training material, and turn it into a Jeopardy game, which is something I've done, and it was a lot more fun to do it that way than just present it as a straight material. Or possibly doing like a bingo board for key phrases that are going to be part of a training so that people can keep track of it but have fun at the same time. Consider doing an internal hackathon or an innovation contest. You want to embrace divergent thinking. So divergent thinking is when you go crazy outside ideas, quantity is really important. It doesn't matter if what you come up with is rooted in reality at all. So convergent thinking is the opposite. It starts to bring in reality, and it's really more about quality. So both of them are really important, but a lot of times we bring convergent thinking into the process too soon. And that's actually been shown in research to diminish the brain as much as fear does. So make sure you have times where there are no restrictions and no criticisms and people get to just brainstorm about a lot of different things. In doing so, create safe spaces for people to experiment as well. Allow for people to fail and learn from those failures without feeling any shame at all. And this is one of the favorite things that we did at a company that I worked at for many years, is we had a ministry of fun. So think about creating a ministry of fun that anybody on your team can be part of, and whose goal it is to incorporate fun into the work life. Make sure that that ministry is inclusive and reflective of the team makeup itself. Allow for people to possibly give contributions asynchronously in case they're not comfortable speaking up in a group. have open meetings and open times where people can just jump in and be able to pitch ideas at any time, even if they're maybe not part of the core ministry. But it's a great way to kind of bring people together to come up with some really simple, small things that kind of bond your team together. So I'm going to throw out some ideas, both that I've learned from that ministry and other things that I've seen. And just so you know, almost all of the things I'm presenting here have female founders. So it's a good way to support women in tech if you use any of these ideas. So spark time is something that I think is kind of critical, those spontaneous connections that you have within your team, across the team, virtual and in person. These connections really, I think, drive culture in a really sustainable and natural way. So some ways you can do this is you can have lunch buddies, and that can be virtual or in-person, coffee chats. You can have virtual cafes. Lubu is an app that actually helps create these in-person and remote collisions. Another activity that you could do is a takeout Tuesdays, where your whole team, if you're virtual, can get together in a virtual space. Everyone gets their own takeout, but you meet together as a group and eat lunch together. And you can have the company support that takeout, and they can pay for the takeout for everybody who joins that group. So there's a thing called Empathy and Failure Toys by a company called 21 Toys, and they can be facilitated in person or remotely. And it actually allows for great discussion about a team's ability to think about things in diverse ways, and also their appetite for risk. So those are things I would definitely recommend checking out. Escape rooms and scavenger hunts are a really good way to have fun and work together as a team. There's a company called Patchwork Adventures that has both on-site and remote options for both of these. Find out what your team cares about and then build something around it. So if your team is really into music, maybe you can build collaborative playlists around a theme. It could be songs to play on a rainy Monday or something like that. You can have everybody contribute songs, and then you can vote on the song that wins out of that playlist. And whoever wins could maybe pick the next theme. So there's a app called Boombox Music League that you can use that will track and let people vote on different playlists. And then team building activities like that math symbol check-in we did are a great way to learn about each other and connect and have some fun. So the Kokori app has icebreakers and team builders and problem solvers, and also can be done both in person and virtually. Okay, so now we're gonna bring purpose and fun together. So here are some ideas of how you could do that. You can create for a cause. So instead of having an internal hackathon to benefit your own product, you could actually have a hackathon for an organization that you all care about. You can do pictures with a purpose. So you can have a photo contest where people take pictures of their hometown, their favorite spot in their hometown, or they decorate their office and take pictures of it. And the prize for entry or winning could be a sponsored donation to something that the employee chooses. You can connect for a cause. So that spark time we talked about earlier, one of the things that you can do is, if you have that connection, is for every connection that's made, have a donation given to a local food bank or community center. So combine health and happiness with something that's purpose-driven. So you can participate, say, in a walkathon or a road race that is for a specific cause that everybody cares about. Or you could reward healthy habits like meditation or yoga with donations to mental causes. Mental health causes. Sorry about that. You can grow a team in a tree. So one of my favorite ways to really get concentrated work done is be part of co-working sessions. I don't know if any of you have done that, but they work really well for virtual teams. You can gather in a virtual space and spend 5 minutes kind of chatting and talking to each other, and then take 25 minutes of concentrated time where you're just working side by side, but working individually on your own products without any distraction. So it's a Pomodoro method, 5-minute break, 25 minutes of work, another 5-minute break, another 25 minutes of work. If you do this and at the same time use an app called Flora on your phone, for every 25 minutes of inactivity on your phone, you can actually grow a tree. So it's a win-win. Okay, so we have, I'm trying to see what time it is now, 3:26. So we can either, I don't know if there have been many questions. If not, we could do a little bit of a virtual activity, or we can jump right into questions. So it's up to you guys. Do you have questions, or do you want to do a little bit of an activity together? Yes, the last app was Flora, and that's also in the link tree that I gave earlier. Okay, let's do a virtual activity. Let me stop sharing this screen. And we're going to go to this Jamboard. Doug just put up the thing in the session. Has anybody used Jamboard before? It's a brainstorming tool. I'm going to kind of walk through it quickly and show you, but let me jump to the right tab here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to engage our teams through fun and purpose. So I threw a whole bunch of random words on the side here. So you can see these mean nothing. It's just to get your brain kind of going. Outdoors, incentive, widen, joy, favorite, spell, feast, and compete. So those are all just random words. I kind of just went through a word generator. If you guys click to the next frame, I don't know if you can see where I'm at here, but there's a thing at the top that'll bring you to the second frame. You can see I threw a couple things in on the side here, some objects. I would love if you look around your room and maybe put some objects in. So the way you can do that is you can click on a sticky note. You can pick the pink. I'm going to see what else I have around my room here. Let's see, I've got books. I can put books in. Okay, so we just need about 5 or 6. Okay, so I'll put phone, coffee, books, pens, stapler, cat. Awesome. All right, so now that we've got a bunch of these, what I want you to do is start thinking about how you can use these in a way that could be fun or purposeful. All right. So for an example, I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to pick plants and say, send plant babies to all employees. And remember, these can be crazy ideas. It doesn't matter. Maybe do another thing like create a garden. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is build on that and say, okay, well, how can I build on create a garden? And I want you to build on each other's things as well. I'm going to say, how about a community garden and give the food to food bank. So that's a way of pulling the fun and the purpose together and building on that. So, so if you guys start thinking about different things, what can you do that could be fun with a speaker or with markers or with crafts. And I've got tons of crafts in my office too. Whoever that is, I'm a crafter too. So bring your pet to work day. That is awesome. So what if you were doing it virtually? What could you do if you were trying to have some purpose? Maybe every person. Let's see. I'm gonna build on that. I'm gonna say every person who shows a pet gets to direct a donation to a pet cause they choose. I don't know, something like that. So how can you take these things and build on them? Learn a new craft together. I love that. That's a great idea. Volunteer at an animal shelter. Awesome. Invite my neighbor to recycle and do compost. These are all fantastic ideas. So this is what I would consider the second step in a 3-step process. The first step is when you figure out what is your problem question. So my problem question is, how can we engage people through fun and purpose? Now you could add to that and say remotely. You could add to that and say whatever. This is the second thing where there's kind of no criticism and everybody can do everything. And then the third phase in this would be to do some kind of ranking of these and allow people to vote. And Jamboard's a little harder to do that on, but something like a Miro where you can actually vote right on things is a great way to do that. But they should be 3 separate meetings, so you have time to really have fun in this one and not bring that thought process in too soon. I love some of these ideas. Tailor pet clothes with a sewing machine. That is awesome. Learn to use a 3D printer and make objects to improve desk setup. Listen to songs while working. Always a nice thing to do, right? Deliver treats to a local shelter. You guys are great. I love these. Walk during meetings. One of my favorite things to do, and Doug can verify this because he's talked to me on many walk, is walking during meetings. I think that's great. That's a great way to have fun. Build an Alexa app. All right. Okay, this is great. I think we're just about at our time. This was awesome. You guys have been such a great audience. I really appreciate everything that you've been doing. And I am going to share my tab one more time so that you can see the QR code for the link tree in case you didn't get it. And Doug just put the donation link into the chat. So make sure that you click on that and give a $10 donation to whatever cause you pick. And here's the link tree, which we can have up. And Sierra, you were gonna see if there were any questions at this point?
Yeah, I was gonna open the floor for question and also just thank you. I thought that was so fun and I loved the group activity at the end.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Really enjoyable and really great ideas with all those female-founded companies for the ideas slide. Really loved that. If anyone has any questions, we have a few minutes before we wrap up and head over to the stage for our close of our conference. So it's come to an end too quickly.
I know it's been amazing. There were some, in fact, a couple of the things I've added to my link tree were from a couple of the speeches I went to last night that were on the main stage. They were really fantastic, and a lot of discussion about how to bring teams together and purpose from a personal point of view as well as from a team point of view. So it really, the whole conference really spoke to me. I don't know if anybody else got to see these, but if you didn't see some of those talks from last night, I'm saying last night, I'm on the East Coast. I know for some people it's morning, for some people it's the middle of the day. But what I saw last night in the second session was really great.
Yeah, I was super excited to be moderating your talk because my own company has just switched from an in-person to a remote company. And so finding these kind of ideas is a very new idea for us to explore and figure out how to move forward with that.
Yeah, so I'm lucky in that I've, like I said, experienced this since the 90s. I was remote in the 90s, and then I was in person, and then I was in person and remote. So I've been all of that. So so I've been lucky to be part of teams that have thought of really unique ways of connecting. Thank you.
I don't think that we have any questions, just so much praise for this talk and appreciation for you giving it. So with that, I have to see everyone, I think, on the main stage for our closing remarks.
Okay, great. And in that link tree is my LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me if you want to. And thanks so much for your participation. I got some great ideas from that Jamboard, and feel free to add to it we guys, we can all keep sharing ideas there if you want. Thanks, everyone.
I'm loving watching things continue to happen on the Jamboard.
It's great. I know, I love all the ideas. It's so great when you start getting brainstorming together. It's really awesome. It's something I've done a fair amount myself, and sometimes when I just need ideas, I go into a random word generator and just start clicking through, and it's really surprising how things that kind of make no sense with what you were thinking about really kind of bring you some great ideas.
I loved all the pet ideas. We have a pets channel at work, and it definitely brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have seen a lot of people do like Slack channels and things like that, specifically on topics. We started doing that in the Women Who Code Boston Slack channel. We've had a couple pets is one of them. Pets is a big one. Cooking is another thing that people really seem to kind of enjoy sometimes. So.
Flea markets are also a great idea. I love that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I love yard sales. I love going through other people's things. Yeah.
I see someone has choose a location to virtually explore as a team. One of the things that I got from a talk last night is in my link tree, there's something that you can do exactly that, explore virtually.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah. And you can just kind of pick a place, and then you all can, as a team, explore it and learn things about it, learn about the culture, learn about the geography.
I think that someone needs to make my pets some clothes as well. Yes, the video for this will be available on YouTube in probably in 2 weeks. Women Who Code is taking a much needed break after wrapping this up.
You guys have been so supportive. It's been wonderful. Really a great team. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, maybe somebody who hasn't been able to, someone who had to jump. I know some people jumped in later, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or have any suggestions for things that you've done as a team. It would be great to learn about them. How do you get serious individuals to play? Well, that's interesting because I sometimes think of myself as a serious individual. I'm definitely, from my team, I would say one of the more serious people. But I think it's really creating that atmosphere of trust, and that it's okay to be yourself, whatever you're seen as. And there can be some really fun things that you can do that are also serious. So I do think that is very, very easy to do. It's just and part of that is having the serious people be involved in your Ministry of Fun. You might have missed the Ministry of Fun, but I do think that, if you include people of all different types in that, you'll have some really interesting things. Icebreakers, or things to do on the regular. Like, I think, you have to incorporate all of those things. Like icebreakers, some people don't like icebreakers. So I do think that, that is one of those things you have to check with your team. Is this something that you're really getting value out of, or should we do things in a different way? Because there are a lot of different team building things that don't necessarily have to be like an icebreaker where it's a crazy question. Some people don't want to tell you what type of potato they want to be. Go figure. Because they seem frivolous, or because of the probing nature? I think it's just some people, they're a little bit more of a perfectionist, and so they want to make sure that they have the right answer. So I think if you try to make sure that people understand that we're not looking for the right answer, there is no right answer. And that's really important. So I think if it's done in the right way, it can allow those people who want to be perfect the feeling that it's okay. There is no perfect here. It doesn't matter. It's like, what'd you come up with? What interesting potato did you want to be? I wanted to be mashed because then you could create something new out of it. I don't know, but it is interesting to figure that out.
It's hard to picture you as thinking of yourself as the serious person when assuming that you're going to be a mashed potato.
I'm a little bit of both, right? There's
absolutely.
Something about work personas, right? And my feeling for a long time at work was that I did have to have this work persona. I looked very young when I came out of college. I probably looked about 14 or 15. So I put on that I'm a work person persona at work, and kept that for a really long time. And even my name for most of my career was my official name, which is Susan. And my friends and family called me Susie, and I was finally like, why am I using two different names? So because Susie seemed really young, and so when you look 14, it's a little different. So so I just switched back to Susie, and because that's who I am. But I did definitely have a different work persona, and felt like I had to have that for a long time, and realized I really didn't. So that was very freeing, actually.
Joe did ask another question. I don't know if you noticed that. Workplaces are so different. How can you find the right kind of exercise to play with others?
I think you include them in the discussion. You kind of get a sense for what people do. Like when you say, if you had the afternoon off, what would bring you joy? You don't necessarily ask what they would enjoy, but what do they do when they have downtime? What do they do? Do they play puzzles? Maybe you can there are virtual puzzles that you can do online. So it's just kind of finding out, like, what do they do for fun themselves? That could be reading a book. Well, maybe you could have a book club. Like if you have what you would call serious people, reading a book can be really fun, so it can be serious and fun at the same time. That's my feeling anyway. Doug, who's my brother, wants to know why I dropped the E in Susie. Well, actually, Doug, I don't know if you remember, but Mom and Dad spelled it with a Y. It was S-U-S-Y. And so when I went to Europe, I saw the French spelling of it, and I loved it. So I just picked that up. So there you go. Final explanation. You didn't know that before? That's really funny. The new things you learn. So we still have people, but I know that I'm guessing the main like wrap up is happening soon.
Yep, and it probably just started on the main stage.
Other questions. So Joanna, is there anything that you can do that would make you feel more comfortable? Like talking to your team leader about the way that you feel and what the group maybe could do to make you not feel like you're a hammer smashing wood. Oh, you're still a student. Well, I would say, you know what? Some teams need people who are coming in and smashing things around. So continue to be your authentic self. Yeah, I would say that there are definitely groups out there, Joanna, that you will not feel like that you will feel very comfortable and that you can bring your authentic self. And I would encourage you to find those places because they are out there. I see people are still on, so I'm happy to answer questions, to talk about more things. Let me see if I can find anything fun in the Jamboard here. Oh, I love that somebody put down something about a journal that you could write down positive situations about what's happened at work, and then you can read them when you feel overwhelmed. So I think that's great. Go to a pottery class. So I actually have a daughter who does pottery and absolutely loves it. The whole like physical molding of something can be really fun. So yes, if you can find those types of things that you can do, and possibly, to do it virtually, you can possibly have someone come in. If there's materials you can send to everybody's home ahead of time, and then do a virtual class online for pottery. I mean, there's ways to make so many things virtual. It's kind of amazing.
My sisters and I did a virtual cocktail making class during the pandemic, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. I went to a virtual wine tasting class where they sent a couple of bottles of wine and a bunch of cheese, and then had people try to guess. They talked about the different types of wine, and then had people try to guess what type of wine they were drinking. Okay, so I think that's a wrap, unless we see any other questions. Thanks so much, Sarah.
So much, Susie. Yeah.
Great. Bye.